nice, gorgeous fall days, but the temperatures are starting to drop a little bit. So we see that winter's right around the corner. But it's good to have you all here. And of course, today's webinar is about just getting a nice overview introduction to Everence. And so I'm just going to share with you a little bit about our services, things that make us unique as a financial institution, and also field any questions that you may have. Okay. Well, it really all begins with our mission. And as a faith-based financial institution, our mission is to help people integrate faith and finances. So that is a great place to start out with, because as a financial institution, there's not a lot of faith-based financial institutions. And so what we're trying to do is provide people an opportunity where they can learn to integrate their faith and finances. And it's about, it's helping to make those financial decisions that we make throughout our lifetime, regardless of what life stage we are at, trying to make them more meaningful as we learn to uncover and connect the dots between faith and money. So that's what we're all about. And today's webinar is to show you some of the ways that we do that. Now, let me start out with the big picture and just share a little bit about Everence. And Everence, as you now know, was founded in 1945 as MMA, Mennonite Mutual Aid. And the very first service that we provided were loans to people who were returning from civilian public service camps towards the end of World War II as an alternative to the war. And that was the very first service that we provided. And then shortly after that, we started offering medical expenses, or medical plans, and then burial aid plans. Burial aid was simply the term used for life insurance back then. Back in that day, the term life insurance was a little bit taboo. It sort of meant that you weren't placing your faith in God. And so you can see over time, things have changed. Our perspective of how we look at things has definitely changed. And as an organization, we serve 85,000 members. And a member is someone who owns one or more of our products/services. So that can be anything from investments to a credit union account, to insurance products, to charitable services, just a variety of services. And we manage over, it says $2.5 billion, but actually it's over $2.7 billion. And just keep in mind, when you hear a term like that, that is something that we're managing. This belongs to the members. So people's retirement funds, their insurance products that they have, plans that they have with us, their credit union accounts that they have, all of this is wrapped up in that $2.7 billion. So as a staff, it's our responsibility to manage that on behalf of its members. Now, one of the things I want to do is sort of highlight, well, if our mission is to help people integrate faith and finances, how do we as an organization, how do we work at applying the same faith into our business practices? So I'm going to highlight a few things here. A couple of these areas, like the first one, faith-based perspective and stewardship investing. I'm going to give a little bit more time in some of the following slides, so I'm not going to say anything about those two. But let me begin with the church loans. We offer church loans to congregations, loans to either renovate your facilities, to help a church build a new building, or to purchase a new facility, or simply refinancing. And the church loan program is made possible because of the annuity product. Now, an annuity is a product that gives people some stable income during their retirement years. And so a portion of the money that gets invested into or put into annuities by members, a portion of their money gets put aside for church loans. So that's a very unique way of how, we're trying to integrate faith into our business practices. A couple others, the rebate for missions. The rebate for missions is tied to our Visa credit card, which is available through our credit union. And every time someone uses their Visa credit card, the merchant pays a slight interchange fee to us. And what we do then is all those fees, we take 10% of those fees and we put that towards missions. And in fact, we even give opportunity for members to help determine where that's going to go. So those are a couple of things that make us unique. Now, I'm going to highlight some of the others, but in some following slides. Okay. I mentioned earlier about, in that previous slide, about the faith-based perspective. And this has to do with when a person meets with an Everence financial advisor to explore various issues and decisions that they're considering, we're very intentional about integrating faith into that financial planning process. So if you look at the slide here and notice the image of the vine and the words of Christ below where it says, I am the vine, you are the branches. Even in subtle ways, we're trying to communicate to people about the importance of faith in the financial planning process. In addition, look at the bottom left-hand quadrant where it's titled, Discover and Plan for God's Purpose. That is a very intentional way of trying to invite people to think about how does my faith influence the financial decisions that you're considering at that time. So we want to hear how their faith is impacting their life. What's important to them. What are their goals? What are their passions? So that's all part of that process. And also on the bottom right-hand quadrant, you see where it says give generously. Well, this is an area that is part of our financial planning process, but for a traditional financial institution, this whole area of generosity isn't part of that process. And generosity is such a given in the Christian life that we just feel like it wouldn't make sense not to include it, because giving is just a part of who we are. It's part of our identity. So that's what we mean when we talk about a faith-based planning process. We're talking about a process where we're inviting our clients to think about how their faith is influencing their decision-making. Next, I want to say a few things about our investment philosophy. This is also known as stewardship investing. And in the marketplace, you often might hear the term socially responsible investing. That's all sort of, shouldn't say one and the same, because our stewardship investing philosophy has more, it's all based on our faith influencing how we look at things. But for us, the stewardship investing philosophy means that we have guidelines based on our faith, and it's influencing how we invest the money that we receive as people make investments through us, or as people purchase insurance products. And so there are three fundamental pillars that we use for these guidelines, and they're noted there on the screen. The first one is company selection. That means we're going to be looking for companies that, first of all, provide products and goods for the betterment of all of society. And secondly, we're also looking for companies that have good corporate behavior. And so that's one of our pillars. Secondly, a second pillar is is what we call shareholder advocacy. Now, shareholder advocacy is the process where we have money invested in a company, and then at some point we discover that that company has made a decision that we feel is going to conflict with our faith perspective. And so what we do when we become aware of an issue where there might be a conflict, we work at having conversations, some dialogue with the leadership of that company. And the whole goal is to help influence that company to reconsider the decision that they've made. And of course, sometimes we're successful at it and sometimes we're not. But it's one way of how we can be a witness to the business and investment community. Third is that community development and investing, often what we refer to as CDI. And this is where we take a small portion of our investment portfolio and put that money into communities that are normally underserved. You can think of microfinancing when you think of CDI. That would be one example. And I'm going to share a little bit more about that in another on one of the following screens. Now, let me give you one story here of how it all played out with one particular company. I'm sure you're probably familiar with the chocolate company Hershey. If you like chocolate, I'm sure even if you don't like chocolate, I'm sure you're familiar with the company Hershey. Now, a number of years ago, we became aware that in the chocolate industry, most of the cocoa comes from the continent of Africa. And some of the suppliers, in fact, a number of the suppliers that were providing the cocoa to chocolate companies were using child slave labor. Obviously, that is a big concern. And so we started conversation with Hershey specifically to challenge them and encourage them to consider having better guidelines for their suppliers for their working conditions. And after a few years of conversation, what transpired is that Hershey made a commitment to influence their suppliers and to wipe out this child slave labor that was happening. And they made a goal that by the year 2020, all of their product lines would be using cocoa that was certified. That's why you see that seal on the screen where it says Rainforest Alliance Certified. And so that's the commitment that they've made. And so that was a huge success story. And one of the things that has also transpired from their decision to move in that direction is that now they have influenced some of the other major chocolate companies to follow suit. And actually, they're actually working together at trying to create good guidelines for their supply process of getting cocoa. So that was one case where it was successful. Now, just I mentioned CDI, or Community Development Investing. You can see some very specific ways of how this money can get channeled to different communities. Low-income housing, microfinancing, as I suggested earlier, and also in disaster recovery investments. To give you one example of that one, when Hurricane Katrina hit a number of years ago, Everence took $300,000 and channeled it through a credit union in Mississippi, which in turn provided small loans to people who were trying to get back on their feet and were unable to get loans from other companies. So that's one example of how we're trying to be different, and how we're trying to integrate faith into our business practices. So all those things that I've just mentioned over the last few slides are things that make us unique. It's the Everence difference, or in other words, it's the way we work at integrating faith into our business practices. Now we're going to go into some of the practical application in terms of what are some of the services that we provide. And I'm just going to quickly go through these. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but if you have any questions, feel free to fire a question through the recommended methods that Melissa highlighted earlier. Okay, so we have a good way to think of our services as they are listed right there on your slide. We have insurance products. We help people with investments. We also help people with a comprehensive financial planning process. We have banking services and charitable services and congregational services. So let's look at some of these. Okay. In regards to insurances, we do have, as you can see there, the various kinds of insurances there: life, Medicare supplement plans, which would be for those 65 and older, long-term care, disability, and annuities. Okay. Now, of those that are listed, 2 of them are our own manufactured products, and that would be the annuities and Medicare supplement plans. Those are our very own products that we make available. The others, life insurance, long-term care, disability, we offer those, but there are products from other companies that we are able to make available to our customers through a brokerage arrangement. Okay. Oh, and by the way, with an annuity technically is an insurance contract, even though it's used for retirement income purposes. So the way an annuity works is someone gives a dollar amount, X amount to a company such as Everence. Let's say they gave $100,000. What the agreement then would be is that then Everence would give a monthly payout. Let's say it's $500 a month, and they would receive that for the rest of their life. That's basically how an annuity works. It's putting in a lump sum, and then a person starts getting some retirement income from that lump sum on a monthly basis for the remainder of their life. What that does, the reason annuities are popular is because an annuity basically is able to give you stable income. You know it's going to be there because that's part of the arrangement, and doesn't matter how long you live. Okay, investments. Let's begin with mutual funds. We do have our own family of mutual funds known as Praxis, and there's about 6 mutual funds that we have, and those are all socially screened, as I was talking about earlier through that stewardship investing philosophy. So those are our funds that people who are really want to do stewardship investing, that would be one good option for them to consider, is going through the Praxis mutual funds. We can help people access other mutual funds that are not our own. Sometimes people want to diversify their money into various funds, which makes a lot of sense. And so through our brokerage arrangement, we can help people do that, is help access mutual funds from other companies. And of course, we can help people with all kinds of retirement plans. Some are mentioned there on the slide. There's a lot more. The Roth IRA, you can do rollovers, you can do transfers, you can do the various kinds of retirement plans options that are out there. And so we're able to do it all. We can do financial consultations. Going to go a little bit more in detail about our financial planning process as well in a second here. But we also help out with estate planning and trust administration, as you can see there. Okay, Everence Financial Planning. This is something that we've made available since about 3 years ago, and it's getting more and more popular in the financial industry. When we say financial planning, we're talking about a comprehensive approach to looking at your finances. It's meeting with an advisor having multiple meetings with them, going over a number of items. For instance, the 7 areas that we would cover with someone who chooses to go with a financial plan is we look at cash flow planning, which cash flow is a term that's used for budgeting. We look at protection planning. Protection is the term that's used to describe the various kinds of insurances. Investment planning, retirement planning, tax planning, estate planning, and that last one, the charitable planning, which is unique to Everence, because the first 6 would be traditional areas that other financial institutions would zero in on. We add the charitable part because of what I shared earlier. So, like I said, it involves multiple conversations. And then what a person receives a written plan based on their own goals that they've identified with the financial advisor. and then with a number of solutions or strategies of how they can meet those particular goals. And then it's up to each client to determine how much of that comprehensive, how much of that plan that they want to take on, and when, and with whom. Can't forget that it's optional in terms of who you work with as well. Then in addition to that, a person who goes through the financial planning process also has access to a very robust online program that captures your financial information from the various accounts that you have. It doesn't matter if it's retirement accounts, banking accounts, credit card accounts. It's an online program that just simply captures that information. It's not transactional. You cannot do transactions on those various kinds of accounts. It's just a view option only. But that's the advantage. You can go to one place and see everything. You can see your savings, your retirement, your checking account, credit card balances, all that stuff in one place. So that's a nice feature. Now, in light of all the time that is invested in that, a financial planning process does come with a fee, and that can range depending on how much a person wants to dive into each of these 7 areas and how complex their situation is. But it's a traditional or basic amount would probably be somewhere between $1,000 to $1,500 to go through that process, just to give you an idea. Okay, banking services. That's another area that we provide, and that's through our credit union. And as you can imagine, the typical services that you can get at a credit union, Everence also offers. So whether it's checking, savings, you have a Visa, various kinds of loans, you can get a car loan, mortgage, as well as many other things. Now, the main way that you're going to be banking through Everence would be online. Online banking would be since our branches are limited, especially in the state of Pennsylvania and a couple other states as well, Virginia and Indiana and Ohio. For most people outside of those areas, you're going to be doing banking online or through the shared branch network, as you see there. Now, what the shared branch network is, it's actually thousands of credit unions that have agreed to cooperate together and be a part of this network. And this is what it means. If there is a credit union in your community that's part of this network, what this means is you can take Everence accounts and go do business at that other credit union. So that's the really neat thing about the shared branch network, is that you can actually utilize other credit unions that may be in your community. So that's a little bit about our banking services. Now we move on to what is known as the charitable services. This is the neat area that helps people maximize their giving. If I were to just narrow it down, that's what it's all about. It's a way for you and other people in your congregation to be able to really see their giving grow. Now, how do we make that happen? Why would someone consider going through our foundation versus just giving directly? Well, one of the main reasons that would be advantageous to someone is that if someone has an asset that has accumulated in value over time, you may want to consider going through our foundation, because we can help people avoid paying the capital gains taxes. And yes, that is legal. Okay, so let me give you just a hypothetical situation. Let's say, in fact, actually, this is not a hypothetical. This is a real situation. There was a member out in Pennsylvania who had inherited some stock, which was valued at the time it was taken out, I think about $30,000. It was $3,000. $3,000. And then decades later, when it was time for her to cash that in, she had decided she wanted to cash all of it in and give it to charity. Well, when it was time to do that, that stock had appreciated in value all the way up to over $300,000. So that was significant growth that happened in that situation. And she did not have to pay any capital gains tax since she gave it all to charity and to the foundation. And then what we do when we receive that, and then when we cash it out for her or for that member, then the member directs us in terms of where that money is supposed to go. In other words, to her favorite charities and over whatever period of time. So that's the huge advantage through using a foundation for us, is if that situation applies where you have something that's accumulated in value. And we have different kinds of services that can help people in their charitable giving, and you see them briefly described there on the screen. They're in three categories. The first one is gifts that help now. One of them that I want to highlight is the donor advised fund. That's sort of our anchor service there. And the way I normally explain this to people is that a donor advised fund, in essence, is a charitable checking account that we manage on behalf of the donor. Okay, so the donor gives assets to us that we eventually cash out, and then we put into this donor advised fund. And then when the member is ready to distribute and give something to a charity, they just simply notify us and say, I want to give $1,000 to ABC Missions. And then we cut out a check and send it to ABC Missions. So that's how that works. And you can even do that online. You can do that requesting online. The gifts that help later, maybe someone is charitably inclined, but maybe doesn't have the resources at the time, or at least everything might be, perhaps all within land or farming and so on, or that that they just want to be able to give after they've gone. And so one excellent way to do that is through a charitable bequest plan. A charitable bequest plan is tied to your will. When a person does their will, what you do is you inform the attorney to put the foundation, the Mennonite Foundation, in the will and say that, and you can determine whatever that amount's supposed to be. It could be a percentage of your estate, 10, 20% of my estate, or a dollar amount of my estate is meant to go to the foundation. And then after you've done that, then you keep on record with Everence where that money is supposed to go, the specific places that it's supposed to go to upon your death. Now, the neat thing about doing it this way is that if you change your mind where you want that money to go, you can just simply update the form at Everence at any time. And we'll just go with the latest distribution form that you have completed. If you were to contrast that to if you were to have that written in your will, where you identify all the specific organizations and then you change your mind, that means you have to go back and have your will rewritten. And of course, that's going to add some more cost because you're getting it rewritten. So that's one of the advantages for having a charitable bequest plan. And then gifts that give back. And this, an example of that is a gift annuity. A gift annuity is, and I explained what an annuity was earlier. A gift annuity is a person taking out an annuity and then enjoying or receiving the income while they're alive. And then upon their death, whatever is left in the gift annuity then goes to the charity that you have designated. So that's another way of giving. So those are three areas, three ways to give using our foundation. Okay, congregational services. Just to say a few things about congregational services. We can do numerous things for congregations. We have a matching grant program known as the Sharing Fund Grant Program, and that's where the congregation gives a certain amount, and then we match it, and then that goes to support people who are experiencing financial hardships, whether it's someone from within your own congregation or someone in the community. We also offer a free service called budget debt counseling, and that's through our partner, Lutheran Social Services out of Minneapolis, St. Paul. And what this is, it's a toll-free number that people can call to talk to trained counselors about financial matters. We also develop educational materials, curriculum more specifically, and conduct educational events in many places. And that's a way of just bringing stewardship education to people. So that, and we have volunteers and congregations known as Everence Advocates. Church relations, that would be my whole area. I represent church relations. And then the church loans that I was mentioning earlier. Now, a lot of these services are made possible because of our nonprofit status as a fraternal benefit association. And that has to do with our insurances. And with this, some of the money that would normally go to the government in lieu of taxes, we get to keep, but we are required by law to provide benefits back to our members. So as a person participates in our products, they're actually making a contribution back to these programs that go to the congregations. So that's another neat way of how participating at Everence is you're making a difference yourself. You're receiving a personal service, and yet at the same time, through your participation as a member, you're also helping others out in one way or another. All right. And Everence has a number of representatives, or the Everence Team would include the volunteer network that we have in our congregations known as Everence Advocates. And so we're very blessed to have this network of volunteers. In fact, we have even had other organizations, nonprofit organizations, say, "Hey, tell us more about this volunteer network," and so they want to try to duplicate what we've done. And so they see a good thing, and it is a good thing. So we're very grateful to advocates. We have financial representatives throughout the country, and their responsibility is to meet with people on a one-to-one basis and to help them work through the financial decisions that they're considering making. And so as financial representatives, of course, they need to be licensed in various areas, insurance and investments and so on. And so they've gone through the training so that they can be able to serve people. We also have charitable service advisors, and sometimes that can be the same person as the financial representative, but the charitable service advisor is someone who actually specializes in that area that I was describing, the charitable services. And they can work with clients, they can work with nonprofits, they can work with congregations on some of their needs that they have. And then there's the church relations representatives, and that's the area that I represent. And I work with the advocates, pastors, I help put together different kinds of educational events. So that's a little bit of who we are, the Everence Team, and our story. What questions do you have for me? Are there any questions? Melissa, are you there?
Yeah, and actually we have an interesting situation, Steve, because you are signed in as me. So do you see any questions popping up there in the bottom?
Just a second here.
Yeah, you saw Kathy's question earlier, or answer earlier.
Oops. Nope, I don't see anything.
Okay.
Okay, if not, well, we do want to thank you for taking the time to be a part of this webinar. I hope it's been helpful to you in getting a better understanding of Everence and what makes us unique, and also the kind of services that we provide. If you do have any questions later on, don't hesitate to give us a call. Give me a call. Give Melissa a call through or you can email her, and we'd be more than happy to address whatever questions and requests that you may have. But thank you once again for your participation. We appreciate it, and have a great rest of the evening. Good night, everyone.
Good night.